Nobody Wants This debuted last week on Netflix to absolutely joyous response. It's well acted, decently written, beautifully shot, and paced out to perfection. And I kinda hated it. But not for the reasons you might think. Welcome to the Smoking Hot Nerds. Let me first preface this with A, I know this show is not, as they say, written for me, and B, that I only watched the first episode, so don't consider this a retrospective on the whole series, and I fully admit that I don't know where the story is going, but based upon how down the middle and predictable the first episode was, I'm sure I have an idea. I love all of the actors in this show. All of them. Michael Hitchcock is one of my favorite comedic actors, dating all the way back to Waiting for Guffman, so I will absolutely watch anything with him in it. His character as the out dad to two daughters is perfect for him, and his mere presence, short as it was in the show, elevated the episode as his presence always does. Justine Lupe is great in her role as the co-host to her sister, played by Kristin Bell, of a love-themed podcast. She didn't get much evolution in the first episode other than seeing that her career as a podcaster seems to be going somewhere. But Lupe was brilliant in the more satirical Succession and brings real comedic chops and instinct to the show. The always brilliant Timothy Simons of Veep brings the perfect doofus bestie energy to his premiere scene, and Adam Brody as Rabbi Hotpants is realistic, believable, and charming. And that brings me to Kristin Bell. Great and complex in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, her best role, in my opinion, was as a business consultant in House of Lies. That show was fantastic, and she was brilliant in it. But lately, it seems that her roles have been that of Unlucky in Love, with movies like The People We Hate at the Wedding, which I made it through about 12 minutes of. Sure, these are actors, but we know that she's very publicly married to a very famous actor and podcaster, so I kind of have a hard time buying her as the always single but successful yet lonely character she seems to play a lot. And putting her in a role as a podcaster seemed like too much crossover into real life, and to be honest, using podcaster as a job in film and TV today feels lazy. Also, we're about the same age, and while we're all looking for love at all ages, and I was single well into my late 30s, it feels like a well that we visited too often, and it's drying up a bit. But to be perfectly clear, Belle is great in this role, and she's great in everything. The brightest and best point in this first episode was the cinematography by Adrian Pang Correa. Sorry for butchering that. The relatively unknown DP of The Flight Attendant and Kevin Can F Himself brings brilliance to the look of the show, shot on my favorite camera of the last few years, the Sony Venice 2, with the relatively new Panavision Ultra Panatar 2 anamorphic lenses, also used in the sequel to Beetlejuice. Nobody Wants This is beautiful to look at. Every shot is lit to perfection, and the occasional verite style of the camera work is well motivated. And the lenses also bring a real cinematic look to the show with its 1.3 times squeeze and 2x optics. Nerd stuff, but trust me, it makes a difference. My hat's off to you, Adrian. Okay, so the more I talk about it, the more I think maybe I was mad at just a couple of things and that the high points shine much more than the low ones. So let's get into a couple of things that bugged me and pulled me out of it immediately. We know from the trailer that Brody's character is a rabbi, but the first scene with him and his fiancée show them in a house that, depending upon the location in LA, would be worth about $5 to $20 million. And I don't know a lot of rabbis, let alone hot ones, who would have a house like this. But I know it's set in LA and maybe it's family money, and a house that looks like this one is much more pleasing than, say, the more appropriate set from the aforementioned Forgetting Sarah Marshall. And during the dinner party at Belle's producer's house, again, I was bumped a little. It was gorgeous and made for an amazing look in camera, but come on. How successful is this lady? That house is probably 20 to 30 million, and I don't know how many podcast pies you have to have your hands in to make that work. So, nitpicky? Yes, but the show creator is from LA, and I imagine wants to reflect an aspect of LA that she's perhaps always loved, so I get it. So something that bumped me as well was the old walk and talk indie darling style. Do we really need more of these? I know, we need to get to know the characters, and this is a tried and true way to do it, but I guess at this point, I don't really want to watch two well-established actors put on their cutesy walk and make us swoon at how adorable they are. But yes, Brody and Bell have absolutely brilliant chemistry and play off each other so well, so fine. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, fine. It's not that bad. It's actually quite good. And I'll give it a shot, but nobody wants this had better give me something to think about in the next couple of episodes. I don't think we need another meet-cute love story with goofy side characters and a happy ending. Or do we? Maybe we need enjoyable popcorn schlock that doesn't make us think. And if that's what this is, then maybe it's a good idea to just sit back, take the thinking hat off, and revel in something that isn't controversial or divisive. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to all who have liked, subscribed, and commented so far. Very grateful for you all.